My name is John Patton, and I will be talking about subduction zones and the natural disasters that come from them. I will start this speech out with a joke. What did one earthquake say to the other? It's not my fault. This joke was told to me my first year of college by my geology professor. It's not a very good one. Anyway, it is very important to understand subduction zones, their effects, and where they are located, because it will not only make you aware of the dangers produced by them, but also make you more knowledgeable of how to stay safe from those dangers. When I finish speaking, I hope that you will not only be more inclined to learn about subduction zones, but also be more prepared in case disaster strikes. First, I will explain about how these zones work and where they occur. What is subduction? Subduction is the process of two tectonic plates that collide, sending one plate diving deep down into the mantle, while the other plate rides along the subducted plate. Here's a diagram showing what I just said. Here you can see the plate. This is the denser plate subducting the less dense plate at the point of conversion. This is called a convergent plate boundary. What do you need to have subduction? Well, you need two things. You need movement and you need tectonic plates. How do you get these? Through a process called convection. Here in the diagram, you can see the process of convection, which is shown by the arrows. As the rock heats up, it rises to the top of the asthenosphere or mantle. And as it cools, it hardens and turns into a plate and is pushed by the plate behind it due to this heat process and rides along top the mantle until it collides with another plate. Here you can see the collision point, and you can see where the denser plate, dives down into the mantle. This is called a convection cell. Here you can see the Pacific Ring of Fire. This is called the Pacific Ring of Fire due to the amount of volcanoes, earthquakes, and subduction zones that it outlines. Here in all the red are the subduction zones. At subduction zones, you can find volcanoes and earthquakes, and you can even have natural disasters such as tsunamis. And here, right here, is the most prominent locations where you will have those natural disasters. Here you can see the Aleutian Arc in Alaska. There's the Cascade Arc, mainly covering southern Canada and Washington. Then there's the Andes mountain range down in South America. And here you have the Japan area. And that is a good representation of the Ring of Fire. And this is where most of the natural disasters produced by subduction zones occur. Our first natural disaster I will be discussing is volcanoes. So volcanoes are formed when in the subduction process where a plate gets pushed down under the other plate. And due to the pressure that is formed, the plate gets squeezed like a can, forming mountains and volcanoes. Examples of locations that have formed volcanoes and mountains are the Aleutians of Alaska, the Fossa Magna of Japan, Cascades in western United States, and the Andes in South America. The dangers that come from these volcanoes include ash, lava flows, pyroclastic flows, and acid rain. Ash is very dangerous, and you really do not want to breathe it in, as it contains many small particles of sharp glass and dust and tiny bits of rock. These sharp particles, when breathed in, can lacerate the inside of your lungs, causing permanent damage to breathing and other important bodily functions. Lava flows could destroy structures and leave many people homeless. The pyroclastic flow contains poisonous gases and rocks that can be as hot as 390 to 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit. If you get caught in a pyroclastic flow, you will not survive. Then finally, acid rain is formed by the mixture of the pollutants that are jettisoned or ejected by the volcano into the air. When mixed with the rain particles in the air, it forms acid rain. This can kill crops and vegetation, which can lead to farmers markets not having as much food as they normally should due to food poisoning. One example of a volcano that blew its top is Mount St. Helens. This volcano is in the Cascade Arc in Washington. This volcano was formed by the Juan de Fuca plate subducting the North American plate. This volcano erupted in 1980 and killed 57 people. This was the deadliest volcanic eruption in the history of the US. And this volcano, when it erupted, it released hot ash and gas that covered the sun for miles and miles. How do you stay safe during a volcano? Well, according to the United States Geological Survey, more than 270,000 people have been killed directly or indirectly by volcanic activity worldwide during the past 500 years. That is a lot of people. So to stay safe from these volcanoes, you should evacuate the area in reach of lava flows and the pyroclastic flows. And you want to stay inside to avoid breathing in ash and to avoid any possible contamination from acid rain. Always wear a mask as well. That way you don't get the ash in your system. The next natural disaster that are formed by these subduction zones are earthquakes. These earthquakes are caused by the rubbing of the tectonic plates. Sometimes during subduction, a plate may get stuck while it's trying to subduct the other. And whenever it is stuck, the plate is still being pushed by the convection cell, by that heat process that causes the circular motion that I was talking about earlier. And when it gets stuck, pressure builds up until finally there is so much pressure until the rock breaks. This is called a fault. And whenever it breaks, it releases a huge amount of energy. And this energy is called an earthquake. These earthquakes can rattle grounds, destroy buildings, and leave many people homeless. In 2004, 298,101 people died from earthquakes around the world, according to USGS. Here are some photos of some unfortunate people who had their buildings, cars, and homes destroyed. You can see how much damage these earthquakes cause. Dangers you need to worry about during an earthquake are the ground shaking, ground ruptures, which are breaks in land and change in topography, landslides. During an earthquake may unsettle loose material on a mountainside or cliff, causing all the loose material to fall downward. in the direction that gravity brings it. Then there's also liquefaction, which can sink buildings, cars, and even people into the ground. As an earthquake happens, loose soil will be vibrated, causing any heavy objects to slowly sink in. It is very dangerous and those areas should be avoided during an earthquake. And the last danger that is produced by earthquakes are tsunamis. I will get to tsunamis later on. One example of a destructive earthquake was the Loma Prieta earthquake. This earthquake occurred October 17, 1989, and caused 63 deaths and over 3,700 injuries. And the damages that were caused due to this earthquake were estimated to be roughly $6 billion worth of damage. You can see a couple pictures here of the Loma Prieta earthquake and what it caused. How do you stay safe during an earthquake? Stay indoors and away from windows. Go under a table or desk to protect yourself from falling debris, and protect your head. Anything you go under to protect yourself from falling debris must be sturdy. If you're outside, stay away from trees, power lines, or anything that can crush you or leave you injured. And the last natural disaster that is produced by these subduction zones are tsunamis. Tsunamis are caused by earthquakes at the ocean floor. This causes the water to be displaced and form the wave we know as a tsunami. These tsunamis can be miles long and hundreds of feet high even. Dangers that can be produced by these tsunamis are flooding, wave impacts, erosion, strong currents, and floating debris. Many people are killed by floating debris in tsunamis as they get caught in the current, and then they can be crushed by vehicles floating. They can be crushed by trees. They can be crushed by telephone poles, and they can be impaled by any sharp objects such as glass, knives. Anything in the water that is heavy or sharp is a danger to anybody who's in this water. It is highly, highly recommended to evacuate before tsunamis hit. One example of a tsunami that was highly destructive was the Alaskan tsunami of 1964. This tsunami caused 159 deaths and reached a maximum height of 220 feet at Shute Bay, Alaska. The run-up height is basically the height of the tsunami once it reaches the shore. So this tsunami was 220 feet tall at the shore of Shute Bay, Alaska. How to stay safe during a tsunami. Move inland before the tsunami hits and get as high above sea level as you can. You do not want to be near the coast when a tsunami strikes, as that is the most impacted area of the tsunami. I hope I have successfully relayed the destructive capabilities that subduction zones have, and I hope that this will persuade you to become more knowledgeable of this topic, as that can save your life and even others' lives. If you wish to be alerted on incoming disasters, I have 3 websites linked. Each of these give you free notification systems if you wish to sign up, and they will alert you if a tsunami is coming, if an earthquake is coming, or if a volcano is about to erupt. Here's my works cited. That's it.